Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Point Church podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Arizari, Student Point Director at Chapel Hill. Today, we are interviewing David. You guys probably recognize him. He's always here on Sunday mornings, bright and early, rehearsal, doing the piano, doing the guitar. He's awesome. Say your full name, please.
My full name? Well, that's a long one.
Oh, yes, please.
You want the whole thing?
Whole thing.
Do you want it in Spanish?
Yes, actually.
My full name, which is pretty long, is David Efraín Rengifo Baltodano. And people had to say that on my graduations, and they did not enjoy that. Nobody enjoyed that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I love that. I love the combination of all the names.
Yes. One first name, one second or middle name, and then two last names, which is what we have in Latin America. One from your dad, one from your mom.
Interesting. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming here, David, and letting us interview you. I know you're probably like one of the busiest people I know. I mean, tell the people, like, what is your official job title? What do you do for the Point Church? What are all the jobs?
So the official title is Executive Director of the Point Church en Español. That is most of what I do. Now, again, obviously I'm worship director here at Chapel Hill. I also led worship for a long time at Point International. And what I do, well, mainly I make sure Espanol is running, is doing well. I work closely with my dad, which his main job, because he's the network leader of Espanol churches, is to train and equip leaders. And so that's his thing. And also pastor. He's great at shepherding, great at counseling. And so he does a lot of that for people, and obviously teaching on Sundays. But my job is more making sure things happen, both administratively, with strategy, outreach. I lead the leadership team of the elders, so I'm an elder too, at Español, I guess. And so we have Miguel, who's working with ministries, and he helps a lot with a lot of the administrative tasks. We have Juan Mendoza, who's at Sanford. We have Juan Luis, who's at Holly Springs. And so all of us meet on Tuesdays and go over things. I also obviously prepare all the music for Espanol. And now with COVID, we've had to produce a lot of stuff video-wise, and Point Church Online, Espanol, which has been very successful. I'm really happy how it's turning out. And I have a lot of awesome volunteers that help with that, both in singing and behind the scenes. Obviously Colin always helps, and it's an awesome resource. What else? I love writing, so I've been writing sermons a lot now.
Really?
Yeah, I don't get to teach a lot because I don't want to lead worship and teach. It's kind of weird. I did it for a while because when we first got started with Espanol, my dad was actually lead pastor at the church we planted when we first got to the U.S. And so he stayed there while I was the first one connected to the Point Church in 2013. And so I was just leading worship. Chris wanted to start Espanol churches, which we did, but my dad wasn't really 100% here. It was like kind of 50-50. So I had to lead worship and teach for the better part of a year and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
And I just think that's awkward. I'm praying for other worship leaders so that I can teach more, which I love to do as well.
Well, I'm trying to backtrack here, but where exactly would you teach? Like, who are you writing these sermons for? Are these just things that kind of come to you as you learn, or like, why are you writing them?
Oh, I write the sermons for all the churches in Espanol. So what happens is that we get a script from English, which I don't sit on all the teaching team because I just don't have enough time. But I let them do their script. I know kind of the direction that things are going.
Yeah.
But then I get the script. Sometimes it's just an outline. Sometimes it has a little more meat on it. But I used to because before, I mean, teaching team has gone through many iterations.
Yeah.
But what's awesome about it is we got like, 8 people really thinking about how to make the teaching as good as possible. People that know a lot about the word and really research, and Matthew's awesome at um, doing a lot of that. But before, we used to have like always a script, the whole thing. And so I started by just translating them, and I translated the whole thing. But since the second iteration was just outlines,
Yeah.
or the most recent second iteration was mostly outlines. So from that outline, I started writing more,
Wow.
which I started loving more and more. And then now it's kind of a combination between an outline and a little bit of more meat, and then
Yeah.
now it's gonna change again. So who knows? But I like doing it. So
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. I mean, not a lot of people can like add on to a sermon and like know where to go from there. And I admire you for doing that. I mean, you have a big role in Espanol, and
mhm.
even here at the Point Church Chapel Hill, like we definitely appreciate you.
I
So that's
appreciate doing
pretty
it.
impressive. I mean, okay, so tell me about your childhood. Like, where did you grow up from? Like, you're obviously not from America, so.
Yeah. Well. Yes. We are. I'm debating whether to say what I was thinking or no. I'm not gonna say it. So
You can. He
we
can cut it
are.
out if anything.
No, it's okay. So we are. We are. My parents are from Peru in South
Okay.
America. And they came. Well, my dad came to Mexico when he was, I think, like 19, to study, and then he met my mom in Peru, and then he they dated through letters, and then she came,
That's so
left everything
cute.
for him, which is insane,
Oh.
and came to Mexico, and then they got married there, and I was born soon after that, and then they lived there for 21 years, something like that. So uh, we came here in 2000. I
Mhm.
was 15, just turned
Wow.
15, and so we've been here for a long time. I grew up in Mexico City, so very huge change because when we came to the U.S., we came to a little town outside of Goldsboro called Seven Springs, which is like in the middle of nowhere. Literally, it's just like a house and fields and a house and goats and a house and sheep, and that was very different from where I grew up, which is one of the biggest cities in the world, the most
Mhm.
populated city at the time. So it was a big adjustment. The good thing is I went to school from an early age to a bilingual school, which my
Mhm.
mom taught at because she taught English there. And so I knew, I've always studied. We did half in English, half in Spanish.
Oh
The only thing
wow.
we didn't do a lot is speak it, but we studied it a lot, and all the subjects were in English and everything. So I didn't have a ton of a problem academically,
Mhm.
but culturally, it was a huge adjustment. So I think coming here was kind of a big part in molding my personality, which is just very introverted. I just don't really, you know, uh, do a lot of talking. I guess I'm like the opposite of you, but yeah, we came here was 2000 with my I have one brother and he's 5 years younger than me.
Mhm.
And yeah, so we stayed here. My dad was well. The reason we came here was because my mom was invited through a program called Visit International Faculty to teach here. They
Mhm.
bring teachers from all over the world. So,
Oh
for
wow, that's
example, when we
interesting.
came here, yeah, we met teachers from Australia, from I think Singapore, with other countries, and
And they sent her to that small little town?
no, so we all came to Chapel Hill actually.
Oh,
We stayed
Chapel
at
Hill
a
because of
hotel
that.
called, I
Okay.
remember because this was the first kind of brush with the US.
Mhm.
Well, I had been to the US to visit, like to California and stuff, but to live, we came to Carolina Inn, which is near
Mhm.
UNC, I guess. That's where we stayed. That was the
That's a
first thing.
fancy
That
hotel.
was the
They put
first
you
thing.
guys good.
Really, I've never been there since, but it was good, and that's where we met all these teachers, and then they put them in different schools to enrich the cultural um, rich, yeah, the cultural capacity of schools here. So
Mm-hmm.
my mom was placed in this school in Mount Olive, and so that's how we came there. And then my dad got invited to plant churches, which is what he has been doing his whole life, and so that's how we stayed here.
Yeah. So your mom pursued education, your dad pursued ministry. Like,
Yeah.
was there something that you wanted to do? Like, you're following around your parents all this time, but like, was there something that you were setting out to do?
Yeah, so I had a hard time knowing what to do, except I always had a passion for music. So I started playing piano when I was 4. And then in Mexico, I had teachers, and I went to the National Conservatory of Music in Mexico City, which is really hard to get in.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
my
really
brother and I, yeah.
awesome.
It was out of like 2,000 people, they accept like 25 or something like that. It's like, and then your names appear on the paper, and you have a 2-week thing where they examine you. They see if you can make it, and then they even examine your fingers. Like I remember like being small, and because I was like 11 at that time or something. But anyway, we studied there right until we came here.
Yeah.
And then here, I always knew I loved music, so I led worship since I was 12 in Mexico. And then here, so music was always there. I knew I wanted to do anything and everything I could with that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I always had this passion to help people and to just help in any way I could. And I wanted to do that through medicine because our neighbor in Mexico City was a doctor, and we lived in a kind of a dangerous zone. But even though he could have gone and somewhere else to practice or live,
Yeah.
he chose to live there, and he gave free things to people.
That
He
is
he
so
was a
awesome.
very community oriented man. He helped us, obviously, just for free, just helping people every afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And so I saw, and his wife was a doctor too, so they were such an inspiration to me,
Yeah.
that I wanted to be also a doctor. So that's what I pursued in college. I did pre-med, and music, so I did both. I have a BS in biology and BA in music, so I did both at the
So
same time
cool.
at Campbell. um, but then when it came time to kind of like start shadowing physicians, which I did,
Yeah.
um, and always I had, I didn't have a passion for the science aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I mean, I did pretty well in the MCAT, but it wasn't just what I wanted to do. So
Yeah.
I was kind of in limbo for a while. I didn't know what to do. I was always serving in church and teaching music. I taught at a institute called Instituto Canción, which is a global institute with in 80 countries that teaches music to worship music to people
That's really
all over
cool.
the world. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have the biggest campus is here in Raleigh. Well, it's in Apex now, but I was teaching there, but I didn't know what exactly where to go with it or what to do. And there was randomly, my mom told me there was a new program at Duke for a master's in management, and
Ah, Duke.
I
Okay, maybe we should stop this interview.
at
And
Duke,
like,
yeah. And my brother went to Duke. I really don't care about Duke, Carolina. I really am like whatever.
oh
But my
no.
brother does. My brother is huge Duke Devils like
Oh
hardcore.
no.
I mean, I'm driving his car and has a huge Duke thing on the front. But I don't really care. I know it's a huge rivalry.
Especially around here, like those
Yeah.
are fighting words.
Yeah. When I went to school at Duke, I saw all the and the year I went, they won the whole thing, the
Oh
championship. Like,
really?
was huge. Anyway, what I was gonna say? Yeah, I went there, and then I still didn't. I'm not like a business person, so I loved it because it kind of opened my eyes to a whole new world that I didn't know. It
Mm,
was really interesting, really awesome people, really smart people that I met there. But that was not my world. But I had always been serving at church, leading worship, doing that. So at around that time, I felt from God that I had to leave my parents' church in Goldsboro. I already lived here in Cary, so I wanted to pursue something around here and also lead in English and be more involved in that culture. Because I
Yeah.
had always been here, but kind of in the Spanish culture.
Yeah.
I never really. I mean, I went to college, but I was very quiet. I always went home on the weekends, so I didn't really immerse myself in the culture.
Mhm.
So anyway, I wanted to grow. Also, I've been teaching people, teaching and teaching. I never really played with people that kind of were more of a higher level, and so I was praying and looking for places, and I interviewed at a couple of churches around the area, and then I got a call from Chris Hankins because I had put my resume in a website,
Yeah.
and we just met at a Caribou Coffee in Raleigh. This was 2013, and I love the vision. So at that time, we were just a church in a movie theater and a church in Apex in a middle school,
Wow.
and it was a very different thing, but I loved the vision of where it was going. I could see by the way he explained it, and it was kind of everything I had already been thinking in my head because my dad's a Baptist pastor, so
Yeah.
that's the way he did ministry, which
Mhm.
is not bad, but I thought things could be better, improved.
Yeah.
Like a pastor, a Baptist pastor, at least in the way that he ran things, is just like he is like the administrator, the music director, the everything. Like he doesn't really have anybody. But here at the point, we do things as a team,
Hmm.
which is a lot more healthy as well.
Yeah.
So anyway, when he presented that whole thing, I thought I'd give it a try, and then I did, and I started from there, just leading worship at the movie theater, bringing my huge keyboard over there, and
Yeah.
now here we are.
I know. I was about to say,
It's
what's it
crazy.
like seeing like you started from two, like not even in locations, but now like we have what? It's 13 churches.
Yeah, something like that.
Like, like it's 13 campuses in 7 locations across the triangle. And like
Right.
what's it like now seeing the vision come to life? Like has that like if anything enforced your faith even more, just kind of have big dreams like
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with about this the last time I talked with to the staff about being a dreamer, and sometimes you're a forced dreamer because everyone around you has big dreams. Like my
yeah.
dad and Chris have like insane dreams, and I'm like, is that even possible? And so you're forced to kind of get in that,
Yeah.
and then God starts giving you your own dreams, and
Uh-huh.
so that's kind of how it has happened with me. But yeah, we could have. I'm sure Chris either he didn't have any idea. Like he didn't know he was gonna have 4 or 5 Spanish churches, or a fifth probable. We have a microsite in Durham,
Yeah.
and then international churches. I mean, he never dreamt of it. But what I admire about him and my dad too is that they keep their minds open to what God wants to do. Not they're not like, okay, this is it and this is how we're gonna, and then live in a square. But
Yeah.
they're always open. What God, where do you want us to go? How do
Uh-huh.
you want us to? And obviously, I love, and this is part of the reason why I also chose Chris over other churches is that I could see his genuinely love for everyone, and
Mhm.
you know, in the churches where I served before, where we planted in Goldsboro, those little towns, it has been difficult working with American churches and the Spanish, and it's like
Yeah.
there's tension, there's like don't use this stuff, and then there's even other even worse things that have happened. So coming here has been refreshing in that sense that we're just here for the gospel and for everyone that
Yeah.
that will listen and repent and believe.
Amen. I mean, that's a major reason why I chose the Point Church, just of how loving y'all are and things like that. But going back to that Spanish English conflict, did you ever feel that? Like you talked somewhat of it, but like I mean, like you're part of the Spanish world, but it's also like trying to get accustomed with English culture and especially finding an English church. Like, was there pushback in for you emotionally and mentally, or even from your family?
Hmm. No, not for my family. I think for me, I've been a bridge from the beginning with
Yeah.
my dad, and even not just culturally, but even the way he worked versus the way the Point Church operates. So I learned this like in a conference, racial reconciliation conference a while back, that if you're a bridge, you get walked on by both sides
Mm.
because both sides are using that bridge. So
Yeah.
for people that are bridges, you do get tension from both sides. You do get that push and pull and ebb and flow. But um, I consider myself just blessed to be able to do that because God equips you in unique ways for
Mm.
His ministry, for His mission. So uh, it has not always been easy,
Yeah.
and it continues to sometimes not be easy. But what I've learned is that God's ultimately in control. We just trust in Him, and continue to grow. And I still have, a lot of places to grow. And but yeah, it culturally, I mean, I think again, I admire the Point Church for being a church of multiculturality.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a long ways to go in diversity. Because it's two different things. You can be, multicultural, which we are. We can have different cultures represented, but we're separate. So
Mm.
we're, Espanol is here, and we do come, once in a while together. But
Yeah.
even that can be tricky. But then diversity is when you have within one church many different
Yeah.
colors, different cultures, different ideas. So, I mean, I know that we're aiming intentionally pursuing diversity
Yeah.
towards that, but it's a thing that we have to be intentional about, not only like a month a year or a Sunday a year, but every single Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm obviously just praying that God puts that in the leaders' hearts and
Yeah.
wherever that leads. But I'm not trying to push any agenda. I just pray for that because I think that reflects what heaven's like, and I
Yeah.
think that if the church is able to break those barriers, which is only God can do, then
Mm-hmm.
we can be a light to society. So
How do you think that the leaders or the church can try to make the service more diverse or even encourage that more?
yeah, I mean it's tricky again,
Yeah.
but it's all about intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about like well, we don't have necessarily the worship leaders to do this, but we're going to do it anyway. Because when people come and sit in the pews that are from other cultures, they'll be like, oh, okay, so they're trying to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if they come and all of it is one culture, then they're like, okay, then there's no room for me here.
Yeah.
And this is something that I've learned a lot from Basti, who's my girlfriend. She's from a church called Relentless, and they
Mm-hmm.
pursue this very intentionally.
Yeah.
And she's always talking about it. I mean, I am not the one that's always thinking about it. I just want to serve and see people come to Jesus. But for her, in her heart, this is a huge thing.
Mm.
She's from the Dominican Republic,
Mm-hmm.
and so she loves her church. She loves what they're doing, and so this is something that I would also love to see here. And I know that it is a goal. So
Yeah.
mhm.
Mm. That's interesting to hear because I also I struggle with the whole English and Spanish because I feel like I didn't really come from the Spanish community, but the rest of my family is, and so it's like I'm missing a part of myself just being so like surrounded by the Point Church, and I would love to like come to more Espanol stuff and things like that because that's a part of me, that's a part of my culture, but like I just don't embrace it as much as I would like to and stuff.
Mhm.
And I definitely agree, like diversity is so awesome, and like I loved I before COVID, pre-COVID, um I remember we had like that the dinner with everybody. Do you remember that when we had everyone come in and like
Mhm.
there was Spanish food and the Spanish service also cooked for us and like we had
Yeah.
like little Spanish cue cards of like how to talk to your neighbor and I was like
Mhm.
this is they're trying and
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
all we can ask for it.
Mhm.
So it's definitely something to work towards, but um during all of that I mean, let's bring it back to the reason we're both here. I mean, like, what did your faith look like? Did you have that from the beginning? Was there something that really triggered it?
Yeah, well, I've always been like the good kid, that kid.
It's always the
Uh,
good ones.
yeah, that didn't get in trouble or like. I met Jesus when I was 6, and
Mhm.
when I mean, some people say that, but they don't really understand. I really understand. I mean, I was just because I went to my mom's where she taught, and I went there from the age of like 1 year old, and
Mm.
I grew up there, and I knew everybody. I became really badly behaved at that age, like at 5 or 6, and I did some things, and I remember being repentant about it, and just when I gave my life to Jesus, it literally I understood what that was, and
Wow.
I decided to be different and follow him. And so my faith grew up from then, and it has steadily, been growing since then. But obviously, we were never perfect. I myself uh, entered into because I was so isolated as well. I didn't really have a ton of friends, and as I
Mhm.
said, when we came to the U.S., like my reaction to this like huge change, because at that age, 15, 14, 15, you're just getting to know the world and finding your identity. So when I came here and everything changed on me like overnight, my reaction was to just close up,
Yeah.
and I remained that way. I mean, for the better part of I mean, even till I came here, and
Yeah.
then through a lot of things that have happened, God has shown me grace, and I've experienced grace, and I've experienced grace in this church from these leaders, from people here,
Mm.
and so my faith was kind of revitalized through that, and um, I've understood the value of community, the value of being vulnerable and being open with others, and how much we need each other, which is not something I really valued. I really was very, I don't want to say Pharisaistic, but in my views, I was just like, I can do it all,
Mhm.
because I've never really done anything bad, but then yeah, through something that happened even here, that God showed me that, and God showed me grace, and so I definitely changed from then on. That was in 2016, and yeah, I'm more revitalized now. I think right now in this moment, I'm just a little tired from a lot of things that have
Yeah.
happened. I mean, a lot of people think that COVID really gave a break to ministry, to people that do ministry,
Mhm.
but actually it was the opposite. And Colin can testify to this. It has been just incredible amounts of work to produce things that, I mean, we essentially learned to do ministry in a whole different way.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I mean, God always uses things for things that the enemy wants uh, to use to attack us. He uses for good, which we have seen. Now we can reach a lot more people. We have the technology, we have the know-how we need. We have the platforms to reach more people,
Yeah.
and we have another church, which is Church Online, and we've been able to reach, and people have come to Jesus from like Peru, Mexico, Canada. People even from Macedonia watch our stream. Hispanics there, and so it's been amazing how God uses that. But it's definitely been a thing where uh, it's just a lot more work.
I know. And that's very encouraging and like sad to hear, like, cuz I definitely like to have a faith at that young of an age and just to like work from there. That's awesome. That's wow.
Mm,
I wish I could say the same, but some for some people it just takes a little longer to know Jesus, and
mm.
your story is so valuable. Like,
Everyone's story is different. I mean,
mhm.
I was blessed to be born in a Christian home, and
Mhm.
but not even if you are born in a Christian home, does that mean that that faith transfers to you? I mean,
Yeah,
I was
true.
blessed to understand the gospel and to follow Jesus, but not everyone does. And similarly, there are people who, grow up in a very uh, far from Jesus' household, but they find faith and
Yeah.
they remain faithful. So
Yeah. Kind of going back to dreams. I mean, you say Chris Hankins has this big dream, but like, do you have any big dreams for the Point Church or even for yourself or Espanol? Like, what's something that you are hoping that happens in the next couple of years? Hopefully, when life is back to normal, or even who knows? But
yeah, yeah. Both Chris and my dad, they're dreamers. My dad's always saying that he has big expectations, and that became a phrase that people knew him by.
a big
I know him by. But in terms of me, yeah, I think my dream is to see a church that's number one united,
Mhm,
and that means across all churches. And
mhm,
I think that that is something that is always something to improve on.
mhm.
But another dream I have is to see the diversity I was talking about. And
Mm.
I think God wants that. I think our church leadership wants that. Another dream, apart from that, is to see a healthy worship ministry where we can once again do writing, do original stuff like
Yeah.
we once did. I think that's something that I really am passionate about. I love collaborating. I'm not like a super on my own super good writer, but I've collaborated with some people that have a lot of talent, and we've been able to write things. And I love playing music, and I would love to do more of that.
Mhm.
What else? So I also I don't know. I'm seeking the will of God on this, but maybe even plan a church that's kind of different, like maybe bilingual, maybe more multicultural. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for God to provide the leaders so that I can do that, because right now I'm leading worship for essentially four churches, so it's really hard for me to do that other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that God has always in His plans to reach people, and so whatever we can do to facilitate that. I also work with something called New Thing, and we go um, to train people in other parts of the world in church planting.
Mhm.
So my dream is also to see that happen here. To see a multiplication that goes beyond just the Point Church in Spanish too, because we have Carolina Movement, which is the English part of New Thing that is pushing church planting here, but I would love to see that in Spanish too. And
Mm.
I'm good friends with Obi Arellano, who is the Latin America New Thing leader, and so I've been to Cuba with him, and we've been to Peru, we've been to uh, Mexico. So when, uh, I think that church planting, and if you train people to do it, is the most effective way to reach people for the gospel. So
Wow.
collaborating and doing that, I think it's a big dream to see happen here also.
Yeah. I like that answer. That was a good
Yeah.
one. Okay. Well, it's been such an honor interviewing you, but I definitely want to just ask this because, like, you are such a big part of the Point Church, and I know that we're all grateful to have you here and in our lives. Kind of the name of the podcast, like, what's the point? Like, what does the Point Church mean to you?
Well, the Point Church means that God is active. God is the first one interested in reaching people, and
Mm-hmm.
the Point Church is a living testament of God's love for people.
Yeah.
And everyone that serves at the Point Church, from the food pantry to cleaning, to people you never see, you never know, to people that are doing just intricate jobs like uh, Ben or Colin. Everyone that serves and that are doing this, they really love God and they love people and they want to
Mm-hmm.
see others come to Jesus, and that is the biggest drive for me to see that I'm not alone. I'm not the only one who wants that, but we're all wanting that. And so the point just is a living testament to me that God is active and working, and his love is so big that he will, make this church happen in all its glory
Yeah.
and all its flaws. But
Yeah.
yeah.
That's awesome. It's been so good talking to you, David, and just definitely a breath of fresh air of just like, I want to be more Spanish and get back into my roots. So let me know if you need help with Espanol. You know what I mean? Like I can sing a couple tunes and stuff. But
Good.
thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, David, for being interviewed. Next time y'all see him, thank him for what he does, and definitely say hi to him and ask him more about his life. Very interesting. This podcast is every other Tuesday, so tune in at livech.pointchurch.com. And if you want to hear previous podcasts, tune in on Spotify or anywhere where podcasting streamings are happening. Yes, we'd love for you to join the movement. Let us know who we should interview next. And thank you guys so much for watching.